Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the update 1.85 second dev server, and it's time to have a look at another Italian vehicle. This is the SIDAM or the SIDAM 25. It is an M113 chassis with what looks like a very deadly robotic head to it. Basically, this is an M113 with 4 25mm Oerlikon KBA cannons attached to it. I also believe that this thing has radio guided AA on it, or at least has the mechanics for it. If I'm wrong about this, I apologize, but all of the tests that I've done seem to show that it does. On top of this, with its armor package, all you get is aluminium alloy, so we're looking at 29mm here, then you get 38mm overall. And then 38mm at the bottom here, 44 on the sides with 32 here. So we're talking about small arms fire that it can deal with, which isn't, great. And to be honest, it's not really what you use this vehicle for. But it is something to think about. Machine guns will struggle to get through you, but everything else will not. The vehicle itself in arcade is 8.0, rank 5. In realistic, it is also 8.0, rank 5. This means that you can run it with the OF40, you can run it with the M47, but you cannot, and also the Centauro, but you can't run it with the M113A1 TOW or anything like that. Or if you want to, you can, you can up-BR it until 9.0 since, this is an A vehicle. Generally, it's a good idea to up-tier them unless they're British. So, overall, with the SIDAM, if it has the radio-guided AA, which I'm pretty sure it does, it will be fine in an up-tier. It does have 3 crew. The crew members are in the front with the driver, the gunner, and the loader in the back. This means that if you shoot this anywhere near the crew, it will be down to a very limited crew very, very quickly. It has a 212 horsepower engine in the front of it, and is able to go 64 kilometers an hour forward, 14.8 kilometers an hour back. So still pretty good, pretty maneuverable for an 8.0 vehicle, but you're not really going to want to use this to be able to go after other vehicles, only other aircraft. And the reason for this is just because you're a huge box and it's very easy to pen you. Another thing is the 25mm at least is stabilized, so that's nice. And if we look at the ammo choices that this gets, it gets by default a HEIT belt, the M792 belt, which is seems to be exactly the same as the HE belt. It just seems to have more stats to it. So for me, this is the default belt. For some reason, there's just 2 of them right now. And then, as a rank 3 upgrade, you get yourself the M791 APDS shells. These pen 110mm, and in the tests that I've done with it, in Custom Battle Realistic, and also Test Battle Realistic, it seems like you can only take a limited number of the APDS. So even if you take full APDS, it's going to give you less rounds than it does than the HEIT. If you take the APDS, it only gives you about 60, and then you get 2 clips of 60. If you take HEIT, it gives you 600 rounds. So that's basically how this works. The belt for the APDS is a lot lower, so taking both is definitely going to be what you want to do. You want to take 1 APDS and then 1 HE, so you can deal with aircraft, and at the same time you're able to deal with tanks on the ground. The SIDAM, when it comes to customization, isn't that great, so it would be nice to see some more skins for it. We have the desert camo right here. It looks like a transformer, doesn't it? And then we have the tricolor lake camouflage, which I think personally is the best, so let's roll with that today. And then on top of this, we have the winter camouflage, which is just a straight white baller camouflage if you want to go into battle with everybody seeing you. When it comes to modifications, everything else is pretty much standard. This vehicle, to me, is a vehicle which is going to be exactly the same stock as it is upgraded. Yes, it is nice to have some APDS on you, but generally, you're going to be using this to take down planes. If you want, to be a tank killer, you got some great options. The Oto Melara OF40 here, the Centauro, take these instead of the SIDAM. If you have to take the APDS, then obviously do so. But at 8.0, you also have Well, do you have any more? Yes, you do. You have the F-84 over here, and you can also, I suppose, take the G91 if you want to up to yourself, but I would say that's not the best idea. So we're going to take M791 and M792. I'm going to show you how it takes the two separate rounds, because it is something that to think about. So you can see in the bottom there, it gives you 60 APDS, and that is it. And then the other one, it gives you 600. So just remember, to start with, that the 600 HE that it gives you, that is between the 4 guns. So 600 divided by 4, which is what, 80? No. Wow, that's awful math. Let's see, 40, 400, so that's, that's 100, and then we're talking about 150 each, yeah, so 150 each per gun, and it goes very, very quickly. So as you'll see here, fire rate is kind of insane, and it does mean that you can use it to fly across the screen. Remember, this isn't realistic, by the way. So if you want to... Why does it keep turning itself? If you want to get across the battlefield quickly, then you can just do this, and you can... God damn. And you can just fly all over the place. The kickback of these guns is incredible, but because of the stable platform of the M113, even when you are going at 30 kilometers an hour, you can easily just shoot at a plane. And with, you know, the radar-guided aspect of the guns, it means that you'll be useful against any plane that is coming in. If you can hit it, there we go. And the 25mm do not screw around when you are actually shooting at, aircraft. This thing, though, is obviously going to have limited use, being with the fact that the automatic is in-game. Generally, I would see this as a top-tier AA, but with the automatic being in the Italian tree, whatever you run top-tier, you're going to want to take the automatic with it instead of this. So the limited nature of this being only to really, at this moment in time, create one solid lineup around it kind of makes me sad, but overall it is still nice to see it. And another thing to think about as well is pretty much every nation used some form of M113 extension. So they used the basic chassis and added stuff to it. For the Italians, we're getting 2. Good night. For the Italians, we're getting 2 versions. We're getting this version and then the tow missile version. And what this means is hopefully we can see it expanded to other trees. Obviously, as well, the Americans will want it, since the M113 chassis is American, even though it was exported to everybody else, kind of like, in a way, I suppose, the Sherman. But the APDS does give you very good pen. The problem is you go through it so quickly in this machine, and that is why I think the automatic is just better in this regard. Even though you only get at the moment 12 APFS DS with the automatic, what you also get. Oh, I think yep, that's its rudder gone. You also get a ton of HE, which explodes when the plane goes past, so it's just a much better AA, and you can understand why this is lower tier. It doesn't mean it's not awful, though. It's just kind of sad. If this was in any other tree, like if this was in the British tree, it would definitely be used a lot. Or maybe even if you stuck it in the Japanese tree, you know, with the Type 87 there would actually be a legitimate, you know, should I take this into top tier, or should I take the other thing into top tier? It can go fully upwards, so fully 90 degrees, so shooting at anything up there is completely fine. The limited amount of rounds that this thing has as well, it means that you don't have to worry about a ready rack like you do on the automatic, or you don't have to worry about anything like that, but it does mean you do have not a ton of rounds to be able to shoot a ton of people with, so you will have to pick your battles as you go. Another thing to also point out is, let's say you shoot straight, right, we're going 30 kilometers an hour right now, let's say you're shooting at the target, look how quickly you lose speed firing forward, just showing how much, how the power of the guns compared to the engine in this thing is kind of ridiculous. And since you're a massive blocky target, it's going to be really easy to see you coming from miles away. But for me, it's just a nice little addition to an already pretty good around 8-0 lineup. I hope that the Italy at top tier do well, and for me, this is one of those additions that will make that happen. The OF40, I have a lot of hope for. when it comes to it, I also have a lot of hope for the Centauro. So with this alongside it, with its APDS that you can see here, does do a lot of damage if you can make it pen, since there's 4 guns firing at it. I'm hoping that this can kind of just help them become a lineup which is very, very competitive. I have seen a lot of trees when the British were released without a top tier AA, when the Japanese, I believe, didn't have a top tier AA at the time, or at least they had only the Type 87 and the M42. What is nice to see here with the Italians is that they're coming into the game with 2 very strong AA at top tier, meaning that they will never have that issue. Now, will this be good against helicopters? No, I think is the answer to that, and that is because the low caliber, why is that missing? The low caliber, lower velocity of the 25mm, it means that most helicopters that are meta right now will outrange this machine. Now, because it's at 8.0, it won't generally face the meta ones, but the ATGMs should be able to outrange the 25s, meaning that you will have to wait until they come near. This thing will be a great AH-1G hunter, which is what this will majority of the time see. So that at least is good from that front. Overall, though, I just hope this does well. I hope that it finds a place in the game and people don't overlook it in favor of a new or another medium tank because of the SP changes. I'm rooting for you, the 25. I'd love to see you used a bit more. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.